Hello, it's 10 o'clock. It's Friday, the 28th of April. This is Alan at the New Anglia Growth Hub. We provide free support for businesses in Norfolk and Suffolk, whether you're starting or growing a business. Do get in touch with us. Businesses big and small. You can ask us questions about growing your business, ask us about grants, raising finance, international trade, and developing the skills within your staff. We're funded by the European Regional Development Fund. That means the service is completely free for you to use. We've been working in association with Barclays to present a series of webinars. These are the topics that you've asked us to cover. One of those is digital marketing. If you want to participate, you can type your questions in. You can also raise your hand and ask it live. In a minute I'll introduce today's guest, but something I found quite interesting recently, this was a study by the British Chambers of Commerce, the BCC, revealed that in fact nearly 3/4 of businesses say that they need more people with skills around communicating and connecting through digital channels, which is what we're doing today. Okay, so I'm going to introduce Joe Cooksey. Joe is a regional digital Eagle with Barclays, and by the way, Joe, that is a cracking job title.
Thank you. I will explain a bit more what it means as well in a bit.
Away you go, Joe.
Thank you. So good morning, everyone. I can see we've got a few people dropping on as we speak, which is excellent. So thank you, Alan, for the introduction. Today I'm going to look at digital footprint and how you can manage your digital footprint from any size business and get results or get better results through the information you can gain by the activity you can do. Before I go through on that, I just wanted to introduce myself a bit so you knew who was talking to you. My name's Joe Cooksey. I'm a business digital eagle for Barclays, and I in the next slide explain exactly what the digital eagles are and how they came about. I'm an analytics superfan, so digital and me go together very nicely. I'm very passionate about digital and how people can use it to grow their businesses. I'm qualified through Google. I've got a diploma in digital marketing called Google Squared, and I also have a foundation degree in digital marketing, and I'm currently studying computing at the Open University. I'm a hockey player, play hockey for Harleston Magpies up on the Norfolk-Suffolk border, and I do like to take a good selfie as well, as you can probably tell from 2 of the 3 photos that are up there on the screen at the moment.
Do you have a selfie stick though, Joe?
I did have a selfie stick, but I have stopped using it now.
Doing it the old-fashioned way.
The social shame was too much. So the Digital Eagles, I was very fortunate actually to be a founder member of the Digital Eagles with Barclays. Some of you may have seen the advertising that we've had on TV with things like teaching the Welsh miner how to set up an email account, and a couple of elderly people that we helped get in touch with relatives who weren't so close to them using Skype and things like that. Now that all came about, and I want to take you back in time to April the 16th, 2013. When I applied for a job to work for an internal team. I was a branch manager at the time, but I had a passion about digital and I wanted to try something differently. I'd applied for this job and been successful in engagement with colleagues around digital, primarily the new iPads that we'd introduced to the branches. So myself and 17 other people were sent down to London for 3 days to start up this new team, which we'd put an internal competition for it to be named, and they'd been called the Digital Eagles. And we were put in a room above the Tottenham Court Road branch, and the leader of the team unveiled a banner which said, "We will become the most digitally savvy workforce in UK retail." And then they promptly just walked out the room and left the 18 of us to it. And so everything that came out of that team is the Digital Eagles, and we very quickly realised that it's not just colleagues that needed support. So we came up with initiatives like Tea and Teach, where you could bring your own device in to a branch and speak to one of the Eagles that we've recruited. There's about 18,500 now in Barclays. and they can help you set up your email accounts and get going on your devices. We also run coding events for children. So we have code playground events where you can go along with your kids and they can be introduced to coding in a very fun way where you don't have to learn all the boring languages. It's a bit like putting a jigsaw puzzle together and solving problems. And we also have a app. It's now called Digital Wings, but I don't have the new branding yet, but it's a basically an app which gives you a minimum level of knowledge around all things digital. So there's content on there around things like social media, which software is best for you as a business, which hardware, basics of digital, cybersecurity, analytics, etc. And about 2 years ago, I moved from helping retail customers into helping businesses. And my goal now is really simple. It's to help my customers grow and protect their business through digital. I cover a rather large patch, East Anglia, Bedfordshire, Buckinghamshire and Northamptonshire. I spend about half my time out speaking at events and running webinars, etc. And the other half of my time is working with our relationship managers, helping upskill them and help them have better conversations with their customers. The first question I wanted to deal with today is actually the question around what is digital, because in my trips out and about in the last 2 years working with businesses, I've had some very different answers to the question when I've asked it. I've got my own opinions and they are my own opinions, but I think you need to look at digital as something that gives you the ability to extend and scale your business and also make efficiencies. It's not this alien portion that is thrown onto the IT team or to the youngest person in the business. And in fact, quite often I've worked with businesses where that has actually caused them more problems, primarily putting someone young in charge of their social media. They may not understand the voice and the tone of the business. And so the impression that people are getting on social media is very different to the impression that they're getting or they want to get across over their business. And also putting everything on the IT person, they may be comfortable around certain areas, but new technologies that come in, they might not be as experienced, and they also may feel threatened that this new technology is going to take their job away and make them become irrelevant. So they can become a little bit of an anchor in the growth of a business as well, unless everybody engages and you use digital to scale the business up and take advantage of the great opportunity you have with digital. Now, digital actually accounts for 93% of new business for businesses. So if you choose not to engage at all, then you are going to have to work 9 times harder. So it is something that's really important to engage with. Now, when you're talking about digital, there are 3 main things you need to think about. You've got your digital presence. That's your website, your social media profiles, your personal profiles as well on social media. That's your shop front online, but also it should be like a member of staff. So it should have an outcome. It should have a reason for being there and an objective. You then have your visibility. Now, I know I've got Google there on the screen, but actually it's not just search engines for your digital visibility. You have social media searches happening more and more frequently now, and you also have directories, both local directories and national directories, and you have local search, so map entries. Google Maps, Bing Maps and Apple Maps are really important, especially for smaller businesses, because a lot of searches on Google now bring up the carousel as opposed to the websites as the first thing you see on your search term. And then finally, we have the digital word of mouth. So this is being able to network, but on a massive scale. And if you do the social media part, the digital word of mouth well, your digital footprint can grow through the 0 moment of truth. In marketing terms, there's 3 moments of truth. The first moment of truth is when a customer actually engages with you and starts the buying process. The second moment of truth is when they've actually purchased and the after sale. But the 0 moment of truth, which social media gives you the ability to obtain, is when somebody else puts that person in contact with your business. So it might be an advocate online saying how wonderful you are, and the person seeing that post and choosing to do business with you. And that's where digital can really help, and that's why 93% of new business comes through digital means. Now, there is a caveat with all this activity, and actually it's the subject of my webinar next month. You do need to wrap all of those digital activities up with cybersecurity as well, because just like in the real world, when we take steps and we have processes to keep ourselves safe, you need to have those processes in place in the digital world as well. So what I'm going to focus on today is primarily the digital word of mouth and how you can take advantage of social media and linking up an ecosystem. So something that's being bandied around more and more now is something called Omnichannel. So linking physical activity with web activity with social media activity to gain a real benefit for your business. It's all about getting results. I know certainly the businesses that I've been out and spent time with, and my friends who are business owners as well, are really, to them it's really important that their business gets results, and it should be the same with their activity online. And so I've got three sort of key points that you should be thinking about when you're doing your activities online, and if you've got them in mind, you should be far more successful. We'll break these down over the next sort of half an hour or so you can get a good idea of what these mean. The first one is, who are your customers? So you want to be doing your activity online that gets in front of the people that you want to do business with. There's no point occupying a space that's filled up with people who may be very engaging with you, but actually none of them are your target audience. The next question you need to ask is actually, what do you want them to do? If you've got a purpose in mind for the activity that you're trying to drive, it makes it far easier to create content and start those conversations. And then finally, how can you make it better? The great thing about digital is the fact that you can see your results and you can look at your results and you can then gain insights and then try different things and see whether that improves your results. And I'm going to show you some tools which will help you along all three of these areas. Before I start that though, there's a quote from a guy called Eric Qualman, who's a social media professor. His quote is, "We don't have the choice on whether we do social media. The question is how well we do it." And I think that's really poignant, because I know a lot of businesses, both in my local area, I live in Southwold, and also on my travels, where they perhaps don't want to engage with social media because some of the negative feeling or negative press that there has been around things going wrong for people. But even if you choose not to engage, you will still have a presence on there. Just because you don't have a Facebook page or a Twitter account doesn't mean people can't mention you in their posts. And in fact, if they do business with you and you haven't got a social media presence on things like TripAdvisor, Facebook, and a number of the other review sites, if you don't have a profile, the comments that they leave will be the impression that other people will see of your business. So you may see quite frequently people have, or a business has a Facebook page or doesn't have a Facebook page, but someone's checked in at that business and left a review. And if they've gone to that effort and they're not being a page error at all, that review is normally negative. And that business has no control over other people's impression of that business. So it's so important to have that in mind. It is how well we do it, not whether we choose to engage. So the first question on that list was finding your customers, or finding out where they are. Now I'm going to look at 3 accounts: Facebook, Twitter and LinkedIn. Which ones you should use are based around which ones you get the best activity from. You don't have to have a presence on all of them if you don't want to, or you can just have a presence and divert people to your other accounts. Now, how do you find out about your customers? I'm going to hop out of the presentation at this point and hopefully seamlessly move into a couple of tools which show you a bit about the audience that you can see on these different channels. So this tool here on the screen is called Facebook Audience Insights. It's part of the Facebook advertising platform. However, you don't have to pay for any advertising to be able to use it. So on here at the moment on this screen, you'll see that I've just searched for Ipswich. So this is all Facebook users in the Ipswich area. It's around 20 kilometres around Ipswich. You've got between 100 and 150,000 monthly active users on Facebook. Now, not all of the features on this tool are available for UK users. Some of them are American only, but a large number of them are. So you can search by age and gender. So we can see the number of men, which is 50 to 60,000, then you can infer again it's 50 to 60,000 women. It's around a 50-50 split. You can also look at their interests, and you can break it down a little bit more by looking for people like relationship status. So if you wanted to know how many married people were on Facebook, you're then looking at 30 to 35,000 monthly active users. Now these are people that have told Facebook that they're married. You can look at education, you can break it down by their educational status, and on interests, it's not just what they tell Facebook, but it's actually the cookies that Facebook pick up on as well. So you're able to really drill down on this tool, understand who your customers are, put your customers or your perfect customer into this tool, and it will tell you roughly how many people you've got available to build as an audience for your business. Now, you can also have a little look at page likes, so the most liked pages in that area, which gives you an idea of the audience. Once you've broken it down to your audience, it'll give you an idea of what kind of content they're looking at. Location information, so their top places that they visit. And then you can also look at their activity. Now, this shows you how active they are and how many times they click. And also on the right-hand side of the top column here, tells you roughly how many adverts they clicked on average in a 30-day cycle. The bottom section here I find incredibly useful, because what this does is it shows you what devices they're actually using, and this for me shows the massive change in trend. So I've been talking about this tool for the last 2 years, and the mobile only section has grown significantly over that period of time. So you can see people in the Ipswich area over 18, 51% of them only access social media or Facebook through their mobile device. So this tool allows you to drill down and see on Facebook whether you've got an audience or not. Now, Twitter doesn't have the same type of tool for UK users, unfortunately. But what it does have is it has a tool within its analytics platform which allows you to look at your own audience. So you can look at your followers, and it tells you what their interests are, what mobile carrier they use, what device they use, their gender, and you can look at their demographics as well, their lifestyles. And if you're interested in that, it's not necessarily the most useful bit of information, but what network they use, and on the right hand side here, again, what type of mobile device or desktop device they have. So this gives you an understanding of who you've already got, which allows you to go out and decide whether they are your customers and whether Twitter's the right platform for you. And finally, we have LinkedIn. Now, LinkedIn, it's a little bit more tricky to get to on this, so I'm actually going to show you the screen flow. You go onto LinkedIn and click on the Work tab and click Advertise. Now, again, you don't actually have to set up an advertisement to do this. You then go into Manage Adverts. If it's the first time you've used it, you may have to set up an account, but again, they won't charge you anything for doing this. You click Add Account. Sorry, not Add Account. You click on your account if you have already got one set up, and you click Create Campaign. Now, text ads is the one that will allow you to get this information the most quickly. So I always select text ads on here, and then while I wait for that to load, I type in test under campaign name and click next. Doesn't matter what you do, you can put them to a website. So we're going to send them to Barclays website today. And again, I just fill in test and test in the ads because I'm not actually going to post the ad. When I click save on that, then I click next, and this takes me to their audience matching tool. So again, using this tool, I can find out how many people are on LinkedIn in a certain area. So you obviously go into location. We can type in Ipswich again, and it will tell me there's 120,000 plus LinkedIn users in Ipswich. And then you can start to drill down on their education, their skills, their job function, their job title. This is really good if you're trying to establish whether you've got a business-to-business opportunity on LinkedIn. Again, you've got membership groups, what they're interested in, etc. And it will give you a rough idea of the number of people who are available on LinkedIn for you to aim your marketing at. So that's the tools, or so those are the tools that you can use to find out where your audience are. Now, there are obviously other social media sites. Through the Facebook advertising platform, you can also understand Instagram users as well. The next question, and the most important question you should be asking, is what do you want? There's a favourite quote of mine. It came when I did my lean training, so looking at leaning processes, where if you can't describe what you're doing, so you can't actually verbalize what you're doing, you have no idea what you're doing. And that's really important when it comes to marketing. If you can't say what you want as an outcome, then you're probably not doing the right activities to really benefit you. So when you're looking at what do you want, you have to set yourself some goals. And they can be really simple goals. Things like, I want to get more clicks. So I want people to actually start to open the stuff that I'm putting on there. I want them to click on some links that I'm putting in my posts. I want to gain more followers. Or you could be really direct, I want to increase my sales from the activity. And you can track all of these goals, and we'll look at that a little bit later. The next thing you need to do is provide great content. Now that's 3 words, sounds so simple, and I know for myself, having run the Digital Eagles Twitter account for Barclays for a year or so, providing great content is one of the most difficult things you can do, and I'm going to give you some hints and tips of how you can do that in a bit. A real easy mantra to use when you're thinking about that, though, is actually how much content should you send out and what type of content should it be. Now, there's a great social media guru called Gary Vaynerchuk who has a really nice mantra that I use myself that tells me how much content I should give out compared to how many times I should ask for things back in return. It's really important to have engaging content that is interesting and keeps your audience interested in you. But if you don't ask for something in return, you're not going to get it as well. So really simple, 5 jabs and 1 hook. So you need to give out 5 bits of engaging content and then ask for something back in return on your 6th post. That works quite well as a ratio for most people. You can then begin to fine tune that by looking at your analytics further down the line once you've got going. And finally, and the most important thing that you need to look at when it comes to the content is engaging with other people. So when you put content out on any social media platform, that content goes out to your followers. Those people already know you exist. They're your existing customers, so to speak. If you want to grow your audience, you want to get in front of new people. Now, it's very hard to do that organically unless your followers are engaging with your content. So, for example, if you put a tweet out and someone like Stephen Fry replies to that tweet or retweets it, that will go out in front of millions of new people. Now, I'm using him as an example because he's got a lot of followers, but you can have local influencers or industry influencers that you might be able to in a post and start a conversation with them. You're then putting yourself in front of that new audience. You're gaining those, or you're getting airtime in front of those people for free. So how do you keep getting better? You've got the basics of what you need to do, but how do you keep getting better and how can you make it easier? Because this is an activity that costs time, and it's something that I'll mention again as we go a little bit further on, the time it costs and the money it can cost to do this activity. There are tools that you can use that can help you become more efficient, and also tools that can help you find and use new content. So you can use scheduling tools. Setting up your posts and your content for your accounts is time consuming, and you don't want to be posting at the optimum times necessarily because you might want to be doing other things in your business, or you may be at home with your family and not want to be worrying about it. So you can use scheduling tools to put in your week's worth of engaging content in an hour on a Monday morning, and you know that you've got your content for the week all sorted. Doesn't mean you ignore the accounts, because if someone comments on it or retweets, you should really get on it and reply and thank them within business hours. However, you don't have to spend a lot of time through the week when you've got other priorities trying to think of new content. So I'll show you some scheduling tools in a moment. You can also go out there and find out what other people are saying. So social listening is really powerful. You're able to engage with people who put things out there on social media and start a conversation with them even if they don't know you exist. You can also curate content. So trying to think up of original content all the time is really, really difficult. However, there's great content online all the time, and sharing that and showing how it applies to your business or your customers, or it's something they may find interesting, saves you time of having to create that content yourself and enables you to share it with your audience and show your knowledge, skills and your personality of your business. Now, you do have to mention where you've got that content from, otherwise you're stealing content as opposed to curating it. So that's really important, and I'm going to show you some tools where you can actually curate content really easily. And finally, you can look to take advantage of trends. So it's a word that's used very frequently on social media and in digital in general, where something goes viral or something starts to trend. That means a lot of people are having a conversation about this thing. But you can actually start to predict trends as well. And I'm going to show you a tool that you can use to do that as well. So again, I'm going to hop out of the presentation and go back onto the internet, and we're going to look at some tools for scheduling first of all. So there's two tools on here. One of them is Hootsuite and one of them is Buffer. There are others that you can use. I'm just giving you a couple of examples here. So Hootsuite allows you to plug in your social media accounts. You can plug in up to 3 accounts free of charge. And then if you want to have more accounts or more users, then you have to start paying for the tool. So it's something that's scalable. You can start off with it really simply and then scale up over time. So with those accounts, you can monitor what's going on all of your social media accounts in one place. You can also reply to people's comments through it. You can set up searches. You can monitor other social media traffic. You can follow other social media accounts on the dashboard. And you can also schedule your content. So you can make up a content calendar and it will post for you at those times. Buffer is slightly different because Buffer is a scheduling tool rather than a scheduling and management tool. But again, it's really simple to use and it's something we can plug in. I think it's 2 or 3 accounts again for free on Buffer before you have to start paying for the tool. You can plug it in, schedule all your content, and you know it's going to go out at a certain time. It's probably important now to say if you are using more than one account, I would urge you not to cross-pollinate. So don't create content on something like Buffer or Hootsuite and push it out to all 3 of your accounts, because the way that people engage with the different social media accounts is very different. So you need to tailor your content to appeal to the different audiences. Try and avoid, certainly if you're going to put something that you put on Facebook with no character limit, also on Twitter, you're going to be aware that it will send them away from Twitter to another page so that they can view all of that content. Now, you can schedule easily, but you can also use social listening as well. So I put a search term in Twitter, so just in the search bar here on Twitter, which is Ipswich and Business. Now, I can just find tweets that mention Ipswich and Business in them, and this is where the latest tweets show. But actually, I might want a little bit more information. I might want to drill down a bit further on that. So where it says here search filters, you can click show and then use advanced search. So what advanced search in Twitter allows you to do is search for words that are contained or words that may be in tweets, exact phrases, or removing words from tweets. So for example, when I search for Barclays to find out what people have said about Barclays, I have tweets, or I remove tweets that involve Premier League or Barclays Centre, so that I'm just getting customer comments as opposed to people talking about football or concerts. You can also search tweets from certain accounts, and you can also search tweets from places. So you can actually go tweets in the Ipswich area, and 63% of people have their location services turned on. So it is really useful to do that tweet. Some examples of customers that do this really well, or businesses, sorry, that do this really well, some positive and some negative. So I have worked with a couple of people who do event planning and wedding planning, and they search for people who have got things to celebrate or companies that are looking to run events. So they reach out and engage with them directly on their tweets by searching for people who have or engagement in a local area, for example, for the wedding planners. You also get accident lawyers, because people put everything on social media, and you get people like accident lawyers searching for accident, crash and things like that. And then if someone's put that on there, straight away, was this your fault? Do you want some support making a claim? Saying that's not necessarily everyone's cup of tea, but it's a very effective way of them to reach their target audience. So you can start to understand how many tweets are being sent, what activity there is on social media around certain search terms. Once you put that search term in, so again, we're going to put any of these words, so Ipswich, business, and events into our search in this Ipswich area and click search. You'll find in the bar at the top here now, you have the advanced term. So you can copy that, and then you can paste that into your Hootsuite dashboard, and that search term will then be a feed on your Hootsuite dashboard. So you never have to go back into Twitter to search for it. You've got a live feed going through, which is why Hootsuite is such a great tool when it comes to social listening. Now, there are other tools as well. This is one called Social Mention. And what this allows you to do is to gain the sentiment of search terms and the activity around search terms online. So I've typed in on this tool Ipswich and traffic. And this tells me that there's 57% strength on that term, so people have fairly strong opinions on it. The sentiment is 1 positive to 5 negative, so it's quite a negative term online. 60% passion, so people are engaging with posts 60% of the time on this, and it's got a fairly reasonable reach of 42% of people that post, the reach goes out to on their following. On their followers. So when you post something on social media, it's not going to be seen by every single one of your followers, whereas this term is seen by around 42% of them. It then gives you the sentiment of the term, so you can see why it's 1 to 5, 13 positive to 70 negative. The top keywords are involved in those posts, the top users, so the people who are actually tweeting or posting that term, the top hashtags. And hashtags are just filters for the internet. So if you want to get all the posts related around hashtag Ipswich, you just put hashtag Ipswich as a search term, and it'll show you anyone who's put that as a hashtag in any of their posts. And the sources, you can see that a lot of it is Twitter, PhotoBucket, Reddit, etc. Now, it also gives you all the latest articles and the posts. You can have a look at them and have a read and see if it's worth you engaging with those articles. So that's social listening. Now we're going to have a little look at curating content. Now, a tool I use for curating content is Feedly. What these tools do, so there are a lot of others similar to this. You can just type in feeds or content feeds into Google, and it'll give you a long list of tools. There are also industry-specific ones. So this is really good for me around technology and business. And this is why I use this tool, but it may be that you need to find a different one. So what it does is it has lots of websites and lots of blogs that it knows creates content, and it puts them all in one place, and you're able to pull the interesting ones into a feed. So you log into this and it will show you all of the posts that have been made around sorry, I haven't logged in for a while, obviously, so I've just got an update on there. It shows you all of the posts around the things that you've put into your dashboard. So I've got a tech board here, and it gives me loads of content that people have put up around technology. I can then say, okay, I want to talk about the Internet of Things and automating your home. So now I've got a Google Home post on there, and it tells you the company that posted it, when it was posted. I could then click on that, and I could post that out to my Facebook, or I could put it into my content calendar. And then say, What's your opinions on Google Home? Would you prefer that to Alexa or to Siri? And to try and start a conversation with my followers. So that's one way that you can curate content. Another way, and certainly for people who've got maybe lots of people who want to be really helpful on social media, but may not be the best people. So I did a charity workshop last week, and the charity is one of their biggest problems where they had a lot of volunteers, and some of them really wanted to help, but some of the posts that they wanted to put out there probably weren't appropriate for the charity, and managing that process is very time consuming. But you can still get those people to help you by using another social media platform called Pinterest and creating secret boards. So what Pinterest allows you to do, and I've actually got a plugin on my web browser there, which allows me to go to any web page and create a pin for that web page, and it pins it to a board. And then that is a collection of content that I've got that I can easily go and look at and use. Now you have public boards, as you can see some of my public boards on the screen there. But you can have secret boards, and those secret boards are only viewable by you and the other people you choose to invite to those boards. So you can have 3 or 4 people within the business all linked to a secret board, and if they see something while they're online that would be really useful to share on your social media, they can pin it to the board. And then when you're wanting to curate some content or talk about a specific subject, you can then click onto the board and you can choose which content's most appropriate, and it's already sorted for you. So you don't have to spend that time going onto Google, reading local articles, etc. It's all there in one place. A really simple trick. Actually, it's a workshop that I went to. A person told me this. It's Big Daddy PR were the people who told me this, and Steve, the owner of it, I find this probably one of the best time-saving tips I've ever been given. Again, that's me curating content and not stealing it. So the final thing you can use to help you is trends. Now this tool is called Google Trends. Type Google Trends into Google and it will take you to this page, and you can type in search terms. So I've typed in the Suffolk show, and it will show you when people are typing that into Google and where they are. So I can actually drill down a little bit better than by the whole world. We can see on there most people are typing it in England, and when you click in even further you can see the correlation is around Ipswich, and it tells you what time of the year people are typing that search term in. That gives you an understanding of when that subject is good to bring up. So would you do anything about the Suffolk show in November, December time? No. You might want to start planning it into your content calendar around May, and obviously most people are searching about it in June, and that's not a surprise because we all know that the show's on around that time of the year. You can type any search term in there and it will begin to give you the sentiments. You can change that search term to summer holiday or holidays. And I assumed wrongly and incorrectly on this, people are actually planning their holidays or typing in holidays into Google in January, February time for the next summer, and then you get a steady progression through the year and a big drop off in October and November. So obviously people get Christmas out of the way before they plan what they're going to do on their holidays. If you're in that industry, it gives you a really good idea of when you need to time your marketing and how you need to tailor it for your audience. So I find this an invaluable tool to understanding, type in a search term or a term I want to talk about and seeing whether the audience is going to be engaged at that time. So there's how you can do your continuous improvement. You've got your scheduling tools, you've got your social listening, curated content, and then trends. That allows you to fine-tune what you're doing, but you are able to get there faster. So there is a big question you need to ask as a business, and that question is time versus money. And they're both a cost to your business. So if you've got someone or even yourself doing your social media, the cost to the business of that activity, you may be saving money by paying someone else to do it, but it also may be costing you time, and you need to understand that and understand what's optimum for you. So there are 2 types of reach you get with social media, and that's organic reach and paid reach. For example, on Facebook, you've got a 14% chance of getting your post into the timeline of your people who like your business page if you just do organic posts. If you pay for those posts, you can choose who sees it and who doesn't, and you've got a much greater chance of getting in front of them, and that may help you get results much more quickly. You can, and I will drill down on the different tools, what you can do in a minute, so you can understand how you can use paid search to your advantage. You can create like audiences, so you can actually go and get out in front of people who already follow you or who already engage with you. And you can also upload your email marketing lists into Facebook, for example, and any of those email addresses that have Facebook accounts linked to them, it will then create a like audience for you from that. So you can get out in front of people who have similar interests, live in a similar area, and have a similar behavior. You can also look to be device specific, and that's really important. I showed you how many, or the percentage of people that are using just their mobile on Facebook. You can create content that allows you to get in front of people with mobile phones, and that content specifically for people who use mobile phones without having to go out and develop something for that reason. And then you also have the question you need to ask yourself, do I do everything in-house or do I outsource? Because you can get people to do your social media for you. You can get people to do your social media marketing for you as well. Now, what you need to look at on that, and we're going to cover it off in a moment, is actually what you're getting back for what you're spending. So if you're doing it in-house, is the time you're spending on it getting you the results that you require? If you employ someone specifically for social media, is the return on investment that they're doing actually paying their wages and giving you a little bit on top? And if you've got an agency doing it, is the increase in engagement or the increase in business covering the costs of the activity they're doing? If you're asking those questions, you're much more likely to have a happy outcome than if you're just going out there and not measuring the return on investment. So when you're looking at social media marketing, so paying to get in front of people, on Facebook and Instagram, you're able to, it's the same platform, Facebook own Instagram, you're able to be really specific about what you do with your adverts. You're able to pay to get more people to follow your page, and then of course you choose who you put that advert in front of, which means you're choosing who you're building as a following. You can also pay to put adverts in people's timelines, pictures and videos, and they can have outcomes that are desired for things such as, I want people to go through to my website, I want people to give me their email address, I want people to call me. So you can really be specific on the actions that you're driving. You can choose to have them on Facebook mobile users only, on Instagram, or even on Facebook third-party partner platforms where you can appear on adverts on other people's websites. The advantage of using social media marketing over more traditional terms of marketing is the fact that you can pay for impressions, you can pay to get in front of the people that you're targeting, which is a bit like sending a mail drop out to a postcode area, but the mail drop only goes through the doors of the people who you're interested in doing business with. Or you can choose to pay per click, which means that you send the mail drop out and it goes through everybody's door or your target market's door, but you only actually pay for that mail drop if the person picks it up, opens it and does something. And that makes it really efficient and effective way of advertising. On Twitter, it's slightly different. You can target by demographic, but Twitter's demographic isn't as accurate, certainly in the UK, but you can target people by their Twitter accounts and the accounts that they follow. So for example, if you wanted to get in front of a young audience, you could put your advert in front of people in your local area who follow Justin Bieber and One Direction. And you know you're going to get in front of a younger audience. If you've got a specific business area and you know that there's a following for a predominant figure or a predominant company in that area, you can target their followers and get your adverts in front of those people. And on LinkedIn, you can do various different things. So you can actually, and with LinkedIn, you sometimes need to be a bit subtler. You can provide a download for people and then encourage them to go to your website. You can collect email addresses. You can pay to get in front of the influencers that you need to get in front of. So they're all efficient ways of getting in front of the people that are really important to help grow your business. There are other channels. So there's things like YouTube, And Facebook video as well is becoming very predominant. YouTube is a great content curation place, so you can go onto YouTube and you can find great videos you can share, but also you can advertise on YouTube and on certain channels or targeting certain channels. You also need to be able to listen to your feedback. So we've talked about how you can create content, how you can run your content, and how you can get in front of other people by paying. All of that is really important, but we talked about setting goals right at the start. In order to be able to understand how effective your activity is, you need to listen to your feedback. And that's the wonderful thing about digital. It tells you absolutely everything. It can tell you a little bit too much and be a bit daunting, and I'm hopefully break that down in a moment for you, but it's so important to look at the results. So I've mentioned return on investment before, but it is so important. And this chap here, this very modern looking picture, this chap here is John Wanamaker. He was a department store entrepreneur in America. And he had a famous quote, which I really like: half the money I spend on advertising is wasted. The trouble is, I don't know which half. And that's so true for physical advertising. It's so difficult to get that tangibility, to understand what people have seen and what they've acted upon, and what's actually been wasted. But with digital, that's not the case. Because you've got feedback and you've got analytics, you're able to understand really accurately how your activity is going down, what people are engaging with, what they're not engaging with, and you're even able to calculate your return on investment. So the first thing you need to look at is actually, what is your ecosystem? What are your platforms and what are you trying to drive? Because if you start with the end in sight, and the end may be, I want to generate more email sign-ups on my website, or I want to get more people to buy things from my website. Two really simple things. In order to do that, you need to get a certain number of people to your website. That's your conversion rate on your website. So you might need to get 100 people to your website for one person to give you their email address, or one person to put something in the shopping basket and buy it. But how do they get to your website? So the activity you drive on social media, you might need to do a lot of activity to drive those 100 people on a certain channel, and you need to understand how effective that activity is as well. So you might have to put your advert in front of 1,000 people to get 100 people to get to your website to get that one sale. And you need to understand that whole process, because you could be punting loads and loads of people through to your website from your social media. But if your conversion's really low on your website, that may be where you need to focus your efforts. You can then use things like link trackers to really understand how effective your posts are, and I'll show you a link tracking tool in a moment. You also have analytics within all of the social media platforms, and I'll show you some of those and some of the information you can gain from them. And then you also have website analytics, and the next slide will actually cover that off in a bit more detail, because there's some really useful tools that you can use when you're looking at website analytics. So again, we'll hop out and go to link tracking first. So this is a tool called Bitly, B-I-T-L-Y. Again, there are other link tracking tools available out there. This is just one that I have an account with, so it's easy for me to demonstrate it for you. If you put link tracking tools into Google, you'll have a full range of ones that are available. This is free to use for a certain number of links. Personally, even when I was running the Digital Eagle Twitter account, I never had to pay for this tool, so this is why I stayed using it. And what it allows you to do is create a shortened link. So first of all, if you want to send someone to a specific page, your website /contact us, you can shorten that link down. As you can see on here, this is for my hockey club. There's going to be a theme on here. I'm sharing quite a lot of the analytics on this. My hockey club, I did a playlist for end of season award ceremony, and I encourage people to collaborate on a Spotify playlist, and 37 people clicked on the link that I put out on social media. I was able to understand the link that I put on the website as well, and know that more people went to it through the website than went through social media. So that's the channel that I'll engage with more next year. So it shortens the link, so Arsenal Magpies Hockey Club's awards playlist, PL. That's what you put on all of your accounts to post, and then it tells you how many people clicked on that link, when they clicked on it, so what day they clicked on it, so you can understand when you drove lots of activity. You can then reverse engineer, what post was that? What activity did I do to drive that activity? And it also tells you where they came from. So 21 came from Facebook and 16 had privacy settings that wouldn't tell them where they came from. And it tells you the location of the clicks as well. So that's a tool that's really useful for understanding the actions that you're driving. That hook that we're talking about in the 5 jabs of the hook, you can see how effective that hook is each time. You've also got the analytics within the different social media accounts. So I'm going to show you Facebook and Twitter. You can get lost in these, so it's really important to understand what your key driver is. But the key things that I look at are the engagement on posts. So I can see that the mixed hockey team, who've got to the national finals for the 5th year in the row and are current national champions, that post reached 1,200 people and got an awful lot of engagement. So that's really good, and that's the type of post that I know my audience like. If you drill down a little bit deeper onto the posts themselves, it will tell you what that engagement was. So if we click on that post, we know that 27 people liked it. That was the engagement we got. 107 people viewed the photo. Nobody clicked the link, but there's no link on there to click. And there were 21 other clicks. So it's content, other content around that. They might have gone and visited the page since. So it also gives you negative feedback, and one person hid the post. So obviously they didn't want to see that. So that's a really positive post. Out of the nearly 1,200 people that it got in front of, we got fairly good conversion ratio. That is quite a good conversion ratio on organic posts. 128 clicks on the post to enlarge it, so it engaged our audience around 10%, which is really good, and only one person didn't want to see it. So that's excellent for me to know. That's the type of content I want my social media manager to be sharing more of. So you can understand that into a real deep-grained level. You can also see what time of day people are using Facebook, so you know what time of day to post. You can put that into your scheduling tool, but you can also look at your actions on your page, how many people like your page and how you're growing your likes over time, and you can even look at a bit more depth into the people who follow you and understand your target audience, etc. On Twitter analytics, it gives you similar things. You've got a summary of what's happened. I've gained 2 followers in the last 28 days. I've had fewer profile visits in the last 28 days and fewer mentions than I did in the previous period, but I've only put 4 tweets out, so that's probably why. Tells me the top follower, top accounts that follow me, but actually what I really want to engage in or could drill down into is my tweets and which were the most successful. And you can start to see which ones went in front of more people and got more engagement and the engagement rate. And you can vary the time that you look at and drill down into more detail. So you can begin to build up an understanding of what content you're putting out there that people like and what content they don't like. Conscious of time, so I'm going to move on now to the website. And on website analytics, we have measuring conversion. So this is where it's really important to have your ecosystem. A conversion event is somebody buying something from you, which I've already mentioned, or someone doing something on your site you're asking them to do, downloading something or giving you their details. You can attribute a value to that, which then enables you to get your return on investment. I'm going to quickly show you in Google Analytics how you'd manage that, and I would urge all of you with websites to use Analytics. Doesn't have to be Google, there are others out there, but I find this one quite user-friendly. So you can understand how people are getting to your site, so what channels they're using. I will give you a warning, organic search, if you actually look at that more deeply, you need to go onto the Google Search Console to do that. You will find, most people will find that people use organic search to find someone they already know exists but don't know their web address. So if you remove all the search terms that involve your business name, you'll then understand your new audience potential with search. You can see on there, a quarter of our sessions are through social media activity. So I know I'm driving a lot of people to the website through social media. We haven't set up conversions on the website because we're not a marketing machine yet. I say yet because it's something we are going to get to. But this is where you set up your goals and you click on overview, and obviously this will tell you how you can set up the goals on the website. You may need some help from your developer to do that. If you Google, say you use a content management system like WordPress or Wix or something like that, you can Google how to set up a conversion event, and there's loads of YouTube channels telling you how to do that. But this allows you then to understand where people are coming from. It'll tell you your Facebook users convert more than your Twitter users. So you know that Facebook would be a better platform to do more activity on. So that's a very quick overview, and I'm conscious we've got 5 minutes for some questions at the end, of all the activity you can do and all the things you can do to get better at getting a better digital footprint. I'd now like to pause and just say, for the last 5 minutes, is there anything anyone would like me to cover off in a bit more detail, or any questions anybody has off the back of what I've just gone through?
Yeah, Joe, that was an excellent presentation. Thank you very much. A lot of stuff there I didn't even realize you could get Facebook insights without. I assumed you would have to set up an account and actually pay for the advertising. So that's really good that you can get that for free before you decide if you want to go ahead and do any advertising. So thank you for that. A few more people have joined, by the way, well, as we were halfway through, so don't worry if you missed any of that, because we're recording the session and we'll pop it onto YouTube later on. If you do want to ask a question, there should be a raise your hand button. So just hit that, and then we can come to you if you want to ask a question. I just want to ask something, Joe. If we go back a couple of years, Facebook and Twitter was very much well, most of the content seemed to be text content, and nowadays almost everything carries either a video or a photo. So how important is it to have that multimedia now instead of just text posts?
It's really, really important. Looking at engagement, so if you just look at your analytics, you'll find anything with a picture on it or a video in it will get far more engagement than just text. And that's why Facebook have just brought out their new feature where you can put color behind a text post and turn it almost into an image post, because they understand that. And one of the things people can fall into is actually putting pictures out there that aren't relevant to their business. So it's just something to be aware of, but it is so important. Engaging content, so your social media viewer will flick through a timeline in a matter of seconds, and they'll stop on something that engages their eye. That's unlikely to be text. It's more likely to be a photo or a video.
So if you don't have access to a video, you could always turn your text into like an image itself, and just and that won't really cost you anything either. So that's good. Is it possible, would you say, to post too much?
So some people say yes. I would say you'll get to understand your right number of posts for your audience, but you have to remember your post isn't going to go in front of everybody, and also what you put up there is gone within a matter of seconds. Certainly if you think about how people use Twitter and Facebook and their timelines, if you've got say 30 people you're following and they're all creating content, you're unlikely to see 1 in 30, so you do need to probably post more than you think of. So I wouldn't say there is a maximum number of posts, but what you will notice is you can post 50 on your analytics, 50 posts a day, and you might get 20 people engaging with those 50 posts, and you might post 10 posts and still get 20 people engaging. You'll get to a finite number of engagements, and then that's the right amount of activity to drive as much as you can.
What about repeating content? As you say, because when you post something, not everyone's going to see it. So can you just keep recycling it over and over again?
Yes, I wouldn't do it multiple times in a row. So if somebody says, oh, I quite like that post, I'm going to have a look at their timeline.
Oh, sorry, Joe, we lost you for a second there.
Sorry, so I got muted. I think I
hit the wrong button.
If you post like the same post 8 times in a row, someone looks at your timeline, that looks a bit odd. But if you're putting out, say, 30 posts in a month and 4 of those are repeated posts, 5 of those are repeated posts, no issue in that at all, because people won't look that far down your timeline.
Okay. I don't think our raise your hand button seems to be working, so I'm just going to bring in people. Is anybody on the line that wants to ask any questions at all? Anybody got any more questions for Joe? Okay, Joe, what we're going to do is we'll call it a day there. As I said, this has been recorded, so we can catch up later on YouTube. But can I say a huge thank you to you for presenting that information to us today. You got an awful lot in, and we're just coming up to 11 o'clock, so we're just inside the hour. So thank you very much to Joe Cooksey, Regional Digital Eagle with Barclays. So thank you very much, Joe, and speak to you soon.
No problem. Thank you, Alan, and
Thank
thank you
you.
for everyone attended.
Thank you.